Hey, you fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name is Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 168.
Yes, 168.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom, etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kid this? I don't like the colour.
Howdy, howdy do. Whovians. Controversy already. Howdy do, Who fans.
Used to be people used to hate that word. Now it's a bit more accepted, isn't it?
A little bit.
Who fans used to recoil of being called a Whovian, but now not so bad.
It's okay. Hope you've all had a cracking week, though. And that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. 168, we are here. Coming up in today's epic show. Jam-packed full of news. A little bit of merch. Very light on merch at the time of year. Very surprising. Christmas and all that.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so very light on there. Going to announce the winner of our Christmas competition. And we also got a small update on what's happening with us over Crimbo and stuff. But before all that jazz, my esteemed colleague and co-host, Mr. Geeks, how have you been, buddy?
Yes, not bad. It's beginning to feel a little bit like Christmas.
We're over the mark, aren't we?
We're in December now. Yeah. We can say that the countdown has begun. I keep seeing things on like Facebook and Twitter as well, like 20 days till Doctor Who's on, all this sort of thing. It's started to feel a bit real, isn't it? Which is good. I just got back from town actually, and I picked up the new Radio Times, which has got Capaldi on the front. I don't know if you've seen it, the latest one. He looks battered.
He does.
He looks. It's a really rough picture. I was thinking, I'm not being funny. It's a great picture of Capaldi, but I'm not sure I would have gone with that as a cover. Like if you open it up, it's got a great picture of Capaldi and Bradley together inside. I was thinking now there's a Christmas cover, or because it doesn't feel very Christmassy. It's just Capaldi looking really haggard. But anyway, I've literally just picked that up, so I haven't even had time to flick through it yet. But looking forward to giving that a read. But it's nice to see Hill on the front cover of the Radio Times anyway, so I'm not complaining. I also picked up the new SFX magazine as well, because that's got a nice Christmassy Doctor Who cover of the two Doctors on the front. But again, I've literally just got back, so I haven't opened it yet. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's nice to see a few mags with Doctor Who on the front.
Indeed.
Bringing it closer. Yeah. Apart from that, I haven't been up to much, but we have, haven't we? Me and you, we had a fantastic weekend up in London, didn't we, last weekend?
It's awesome. Yeah. It
was brilliant. I'm still on a bit of a high about it. It was a brilliant day. It really, really was. I'm sure our listeners know, but for anyone that doesn't, me and Gary headed up to the BFI on London South Bank, because they were doing a screening of the new Sharda completed animation feature. And it was a great day, wasn't it, mate? I mean, first of all, the feature itself was really good, because we weren't sure whether we were going to get to watch one or two episodes or all of it, or how it was going to work. Little did we know that the new version is basically one long feature.
That's right.
So there aren't any cliffhangers or episodes. So we did actually watch the whole thing right from start to finish. And I think we both agreed it was really good. We both really enjoyed it, didn't we?
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Animation flowed well with the live footage. I was quite surprised how well it did. It didn't sort of feel like we were taking out the story at all, actually. I'm still not sure how I feel about not having any cliffhangers, though. Because I thought that was specially edited for the BFI. I didn't realise that the actual DVD release is the same. It's one long feature. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I don't know. I quite like a cliffhanger, if you know what I mean. But it's still yeah. Who doesn't love a cliffhanger? But it's still, I think, the superior version. I mean, for a start, the music score on it is so much more fitting because no offense to. Was it Kev McCulloch did the one on the VHS? Yeah, I mean, no offense to him, it was very 80s sounding, and this one feels much more. It's got a very City of Death vibe to the new soundtrack, and it really does fit, I think, much better with that era. And I found the music in the original VHS issue quite distracting, actually. Almost made it quite uncomfortable to watch at times. It really took you out. So that was a big plus. This really flows nicely, I think, in the new version. I think you'll agree with me, though. The highlight was having the exclusive little Tom Baker intro. So they had a little video of Tom on the screen introducing Sharda before we watched it, and then another little bit after of him just chatting, and then another little bit later of him doing like a Q&A. And I think the Q&A bit's been put up on the Doctor Who YouTube page, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the two other little bits that we got were exclusive to the BFI screening, and they were so funny, weren't they? It was just Tom basically being so cheeky, just saying, "Now, I know you'll believe me that I always tell the truth," and all this sort of thing. And the whole place is just roaring, wasn't it? Just roaring with laughter.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Because it was, because obviously Tom wasn't there in person, it was really nice to get that intro clip. I thought really nice touch and a great way to start like the screening as well.
Yeah, he did a little bit afterwards as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was, because I remembered the first bit was just him saying he was going to answer some questions, and of course he would tell the truth and all that, and sort of playing on that joke. And I remember him saying he couldn't reveal the reason he wasn't there because we would never believe him and all that. And then I was trying to think, what was the clip played after? Because I remember the Q&A bit very clearly, where he asked questions, but there was another little bit, wasn't there, where he just talked and again was being really cheeky, and I was like, but what was he saying that made us all laugh? And it's one of those things where I just would love to see it again, but because it was exclusive to that screening, it'll probably be put in some vault and never shown again, which is such a shame. And it's him sat by the fire. It's obviously, these clips we've been getting of him like on the Doctor Who channel recently. He's obviously filmed it all in front of that fireplace, and so just to give like there an image to go with. But yeah, I can't remember the second little clip. It was quite short, but I just remember it was so funny and everyone was laughing, and he's just being really cheeky. Was he saying something about being the funniest Doctor again or something? Because we were saying about how he's putting himself up as the best Doctor, and we were saying, imagining what Peter Collins said. Was he playing on that again, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, I think so. He was being a bit cheeky, like you said. Yeah. He was saying that he was the jolliest or the most fun Doctor or something like that. And I'm sure he's playing it up.
Definitely. Sure,
yeah. It was awesome though.
Yeah. It was such a good event. I absolutely loved it. I mean, there were a few cast members there. I mean, Lala Ward sent a little message because apparently she's on holiday somewhere, so she couldn't be there, which is a shame. I think it would have been great to have had her on the panel afterwards, don't you?
Yes.
We got, who do we have? So we had Mike Tucker, who does all the effects. He gave us a bit of a rundown on some of the behind the scenes to do with the special effects and how they used. Did he say they used like the original, like the same cameras, or certainly he tried to make everything so authentic when he did the model shots and things for the new version. I think he said they used like old cameras and all the materials that they would have used back then to make the models, and everything was very authentic. I think the only thing they used was new light bulbs or something.
Well, no, they had to use new light bulb. They used LEDs in these because
that's right. Yeah,
back in the day it was those old incandescent bulbs that were prone to blowing up and drawing lots of power and stuff. So maybe there's a health and safety thing there. I'm not sure, but but no, it's really, he brought in a little TARDIS model as well, didn't he?
Beautiful TARDIS model, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say small. It wasn't as small. Apparently, the one they used back at the time, he was saying, was about 2/3 that size. So he'd made them all slightly larger to get a bit more detail in. But that was awesome. That little.
I wanted it. He was, when I saw him walking out with it, and I was thinking, I would just love to have that. He's like walking out with it under his arm. So we had him. We had Marquez, who obviously done the music, talked a bit about the music score. We had the actress, I can't think of her name.
Who's actually Victoria Burgoyne. Burgoyne, I think.
Yes, that sounds right. He's obviously in Sharda, and a couple of other cast members that do like the voice of the ship and that. So that was all very interesting. And then very nice little touch. Like a couple of people had got complimentary tickets, and they dragged them up on stage, and those people were Frank Skinner and Matthew Waterhouse. So they dragged them up on stage for a bit of a chat, and I got the feeling that it was the kind of a case of come on, you got free tickets, let's have you up here, come and do something for us. So, you know, it didn't seem like they knew they were going to be up there, so they got them up, and they were quite entertaining. I mean, Frank's so dry anyway. I really like his sense of humour. I thought he was quite funny, and Matthew seemed like he was very excited to be on stage, wasn't he? I don't know if he'd had a couple of drinks, but he had. Yes, he was wild.
He was very happy.
He was very happy.
The best way to describe him. Yeah,
very excited. Yeah,
yeah. And then we saw him wandering around with a big glass of wine afterwards. He just was wandering around the building just with this big smile on his face. But he'd obviously had 5 or 6 or 19 or 20 glasses of wine. And the last time we saw him, he was actually wandering out the building down the street with the glass of wine in his hand still. So
that's right. He'd been making the most of the green room, I think.
He was on form for sure. Yeah,
he was definitely. So that was really fun. It was good to have them up. And then talking to drinks, me and you and a few of the other guys that were there went for drinks afterwards, all wearing our Baker scarves. It's brilliant actually, because we were walking around London, and even after we left the event, like the pub we went in, which was quite a way away from BFI, actually, there were still people in there all wearing their Doctor Who scarves and stuff. It's like it's like London had been invaded by Tom Baker scarves. It was fantastic.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be the case though. There's going to be hundreds of them. Yeah.
I was going to say, we did fit in a quick visit to FP as well, didn't we? And bought some blind boxes, which was good fun.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Need to have a whiz round FP when you go to London.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been for ages. I know we said the stock's been getting a bit barren in there, but it was quite good. I got a few little bits, didn't we? A couple of blind boxes. I wanted to pick up the Doctor Who Mr. Men figures that you got, but they didn't have any, which was good for my wallet, but bad for my...
Yeah, always good for the wallet when you come out of FP with half of what you actually wanted. And but that was cool though. Yeah, and then we had a walk over to the pub, had a few drinks, and we just geeked out and just chatted about more Who, and it was just a really good day, wasn't it? It was
brilliant.
Absolutely something. Yeah. And anyone who's had this experience will know what I'm talking about. But there is nothing better than being in a packed cinema with other Doctor Who fans watching Doctor Who. It's such a good vibe and great experience.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of views about this recently on Twitter. Well, probably for the past year or so, when they've started doing these exclusive screenings of like the first episode of a series or the Christmas special or something. They do these. You'll see them, especially in other countries, it's become popular now to do it at the cinema. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, this is fantastic. And then other people have said, oh, I'm not sure. I wouldn't really watch Doctor Who at the cinema. It just doesn't feel right. But I've got to say, like I said, packed house, everyone's there. You're all fans together, and it's so good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the experience is awesome.
No, absolutely, mate. Ditto that. It's funny because when we were watching the first episode of Sharda, I was sat there, and a couple of the guys that we went along with, they're a lot younger than us, and particularly one of them, I think his name's Kai, wasn't it?
Right.
He's quite a young guy. I don't know how old he is. Was he 16? Would you say?
No, I think he's 18.
Oh, was he? Oh, sorry, 18, Kai. You look young. But what I was thinking watching that first episode was, I wonder what these guys are making of it, because it's quite slow. It says that there's a lot of cycling down Cambridge and showing off the locations, but not a lot happening. And I was thinking, I wonder what, because people today, they're so used to television being, quick cuts and, very fast moving. And this is very much a leisurely paced story, isn't it? Especially that first episode. And I kept thinking, I wonder what those guys and Morgan, our friend Morgan, I think he's 18, isn't he? 16?
I think he's the same age, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, I wonder what these guys are making of this classic Who story. and when we come out, they were just like, they just loved it, didn't they?
Yes.
They just would. I didn't hear them say anything negative, because I thought one of the things, if they're going to say anything, it would be, well, it was a bit slow in places or something like. But no, they absolutely loved it, and that was nice. I kind of like the fact that that they still enjoyed it, because as I said, I think sometimes people just used to things being a little bit more fast paced. And I wondered how well this would sit, you know, especially watching it, because it was, I mean, even it was quite long to watch all, well, for want of a better term, 6 episodes in one go. I mean, it was quite a long, you know, session, but it was brilliant. Just such a good day.
It was very, very cool. And we won't go into too much detail on Sharda because we need to review it at some point. But
true, yeah.
But I think you guys can already tell that, yeah, we loved it. It was a really, really good, awesome, and yeah, we'll go into details and stuff when we finally get around to review it. But it was just a great day overall. Yeah.
And like I said, it's just so cool to come out and actually just chat about stuff afterwards. You know, actually have so rather than coming home and trying to talk to your other half who's really not bothered but pretends to be interested for about 2 minutes. It's really great, isn't it, to just come out of the cinema or the screening or whatever and be like, "What did you think? Oh, this is brilliant. I love that bit. Oh, it was really cool when that happened." You know, it's just amazing.
Yeah, awesome sauce.
Good stuff. Good days. Happy days.
It was. You been up to anything else, buddy?
No, not at all. No,
probably
not really.
Yeah. Same as me, mate. Not much. A couple of little update bits though. We're on Spotify now.
Yes. Yeah. Good. That's cool, isn't it?
So those of you that listen to Spotify all the time as your primary music listening app or service, you can now listen to us and add us into your playlists or your apps, whatever. So you don't have to leave your chosen app for listening to music and stuff. So that's really cool that we're on Spotify. So another place to subscribe and not miss a show.
Yes.
And also, we've got our competition winner to announce. So we might as well get that done.
Yes, and great stuff as well.
Yes, because otherwise it's going to get quite late in the show and we'll do that typical thing, won't we? Where it's like, well, anything else you want to... Yeah. Well, we better do it, yeah. So items that are up for grabs. And I want to say a big thank you to Penguin Random House, who sent us a lovely collection of audiobooks and soundtracks and so on, and BBC Books, who sent us the book and the notebook to give away. And I'm also going to throw in some other Who goodies, which are not on the list, as a little cool little Christmas thanky stuff. So, thank you, everyone who voted. I'll tell you what, not voted, who entered. We had so many entries on this one. Like Twitter and Facebook, there's loads on there, but the mailbox especially, the big blue box mail sack is bulging at the seams. It's it's incredible.
I just imagine you sat there with it pinging notifications. Bing, bing, bing. Who's that? Bing.
It literally has been like that, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So thank you, everybody who went to the competition. It's so cool. But there can be only one winner, can't there? So we're going to fire up the old Excel sheet and I'm going to run my little randomizer, little whatever it's called in Excel, macro or whatever. Right, anyways. We're going high tech now, so let's do it. It's nearly done. It has calculated.
Oh, that random sound effect has been so worth the wait. Oh, it's exactly what I would have imagined.
Oh, yeah. So it has calculated, and when it's spat out in its own little cell there, I can see the winner's name. Are you ready? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm ready.
The winner is Jake Bamford Elsden.
Wow. Cool name.
Yeah. Cool name, Jake. Jake is Twitter. He entered on Twitter, apparently, and his Twitter name is Jake Bam Els. So congrats, Jake. You are our winner of the 2017 Crimbo Comp. And we'll be in touch with you. We'll fire you a direct message over on Twitter and get your deets and get that over to you in time for Crimbo. So well done. Nice one, Jake. Thank you, everybody, like I said, who entered. It was a very, very large entry pool, this one, which is why our little randomizer took a long time there. The old retro switches and buttons were going mad.
I genuinely did love that. I love the sound. I did love that. The sound of it. It's brilliant.
It's worth
I've just checked. Jake doesn't follow me on Twitter, so he can't have the prizes.
Oh dear.
Pick someone else immediately.
So I guess you're going to have them then.
I'll have to have them.
I suppose. Yeah. Anyways, that's the competition done. Anyone that's that you guys are feeling bummed out you didn't win, don't worry, because we're going to do another competition early next year where you'll be able to win a similar selection of Who goodies. So yeah, don't worry, there'll be another chance. Anyways, shall we get on to the news and do all that?
Yes.
You're still cracking up at the...
It's funny, the little things amuse me. I just loved that. It's exactly what I would have chose as well, if that makes sense. Like when you said, "Oh, I've got a little," that's exactly the sort of thing I would have been looking for. Perfect. Not that it's a sound effect. It's all real. It's just the sort of thing I would love if I had I'd love to have it on a loop as people walked in my room or something, my room with all my Doctor Who stuff. That's the sound effect I'd have as she walked in. Brilliant.
Well, I'm glad I've satisfied your
you have. You're more than satisfied.
Radio Brilliant. Jingle appetite. News. First up, those of you that favour the old BBC iPlayer, the BBC are going to be putting out a quote-unquote boxed set of regeneration stories for Doctor Who over the Yuletide season. So they're going to be playing... this is just modern Doctor Who only, but I think... What date is it from? I think it's like the 16th or the 17th of December or something like that. They're going to be playing The Parting of the Ways, At the End of Time, The Time of the Doctor. They're also going to say, they're also going to play The Day of the Doctor.
Cool.
And The Night of the Doctor. So they're basically covering each of the modern Doctors since 2005 and playing their regeneration stories. And yes, so from the 16th of December, you'll be able to jump on iPlayer online or on whatever device you watch iPlayer on. And you'll be able to have those stories up until, I'm going to say, just after Crimbo, I think. Or is it just before the Christmas special? It's either just after Christmas or it's like Christmas Eve it finishes, one of the two. But yeah, so this is quite I'm quite not excited but happy about this because it's the first sort of leap that iPlayer are doing into that kind of more sort of archived catch-up TV, if you like, because anyone that's got Sky or Virgin, that's really popular on those sets now to have those to download an entire box set, an entire series of something. Whereas on iPlayer, it's normally just like proper catch-up where it's just stuff that's been out recently or some old show that they put on there from time to time. So I'm hoping this will be the first of many Doctor Who sort of box sets that they're going to do. So I'm hoping they're going to do an Eccleston box set and series 4, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So this will satisfy your Who viewing if you're out and about somewhere and you've got your phone or your laptop or whatever it is, got some Wi-Fi and you fancy watching Who, but obviously you haven't got your discs with you, and the BBC store is obviously no more. You can jump on here and have a little bit of Christmas Who, some regeneration. Sorry, if I was watching this in a coffee shop, I'd look pretty strange because I'm bawling my eyes out as I'm watching Eccleston regenerate, and especially Tennant. That one always kills me, the End of Time. So I'll be sitting there streaming, in the middle of Cafe Nero. People think, is he all right? He's getting some bad news there. But yes, there we go. Boxed sets from iPlayer.
That is good news. I think you're right. I reckon we will get more of these sort of things because I think now BBC Store has finished. They'll be looking to do more of this, won't they? I assume. So, yeah, good news. Yep. Right, in other news, there has been massive demand for the Doctor Who preview tickets for this year's Christmas special, Twice Upon a Time. So there's going to be a few limited screenings, mainly around the north of the UK. And so far, there's been almost 35,000 entries into a ballot for this. So that's very cool. Basically, that the ballot has now stopped, and they're going to pick the people that get to see these. There's going to be showings in Hartlepool, York, Hull, Newcastle, Salford, places like that, Bradford. So yeah, it's quite a limited sort of area that they've chose to do these preview screenings. And they're mostly going to be from around about the 14th of December right up to the 22nd of December. Interestingly, because obviously we all worry about spoilers when they do these preview screenings, the people who get to go to this screening, who actually managed to get pulled out of the ballot at random, won't get to see the last few moments of the episode. So that I'm presuming that's Jodie's entrance onto the TARDIS. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be kept as a surprise for the Christmas Day screening that we all get to see. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's still, you'll get to see the majority of the episode. It's only the last few minutes that are going to be taken out. So great, there's been so many people that want to get to see it. But yeah, yes,
that's awesome. And I just hope that all the people that do get to go and see this at the cinema, that they please keep it. Don't start writing reviews and blog posts about details of scenes and characters and stuff. It would be really nice to not have to walk around blindfolded with earplugs in for a week or so before we actually get to see it. So, but it's really cool though. Very, very cool.
It is cool. And also those that do manage to win tickets, they'll be able to pose on the BBC red carpet alongside props and things from the show. Like they're going to have a Daleks there and a TARDIS. So that's pretty cool as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, I hope people do keep. I think it is difficult though. I mean, can you imagine if you go and see this, you just want to talk about it? I mean, it's really hard not to do. But yeah, I'm almost glad we'll be out of the country, so we won't have to worry about it.
That's true. Yeah, I wonder if our friends over at the Who Addicts will try and get to the Middlesbrough.
Oh, I would have thought so.
On the 18th. Yeah. So good luck. Our friends over there if you've applied for tickets, but otherwise it starts at Hartlepool and finish off at Bradford, maybe Amir Khan's there, that one. So yeah, that'd be cool.
It will be cool.
More news, let's keep going. So now this is very cool.
This is
so series 11, they've thrown out the old reel-to-reel analog equipment that they've been using thus far, and they've got some new kit to start filming Series 11. I don't want to get too techie here because it's probably of no interest to the majority of people, but Series 11 is going to have a more filmic look, and that will be accomplished by some new equipment that the BBC is borrowing or stealing from a company called Films at 59. So they've supplied BBC Studios over in Cardiff with the Cooke anamorphic prime lenses and the Angino Optimo anamorphic zooms that will be used with the Arri Alexa XT and the Alex Mini cameras. So if you know what any of that means, that simply translates into a much more cinematic, more filmic looking picture that we'll see on our screen. So something that Adam and I have noted that we always mention when we're doing anything from sort of series 6 onwards, I would say, is that they kind of made this leap from making every episode look like a mini film where it had a very, very big, large presence on screen. It didn't look like a TV show anymore. It looked like a feature film, in 45 minutes. So they want to continue that. They're not stopping that anytime soon, but this will have an upgrade in terms of its sort of visual look and feel, if you like. So I think it's a good thing. I think it will look slightly different to the Capaldi era and obviously the Matt Smith era. But yes, this is good. It's good.
It is good. Yeah, it's quite exciting. It's it's nice to think it'll have a slightly new look to it and freshen it up, and more importantly, that Doctor Who's moving with the times rather than staying where it is. So yeah, that is quite exciting.
Indeed.
Right, rattle the money jar, Gary. Where's the swear jar? Let's see how much money we've got, because I think both of us would want to bid on this. Not much by the sounds of it. Both of us are going to want to bid on this next news item. So there is an auction up for lunch with the great man himself, Russell T Davies. And this is all part of Gadio, the UK's LGBT radio station, who are basically offering the chance to have lunch with the Doctor Who showrunner. Basically, yeah, I don't know what the auction. I'm just having a look now to see what the auction is up to, see if we can afford it. Oh,
no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 1,500 quid.
Oh, dear.
So far.
How long has it got to go?
It finishes, well, it would have finished the day before this podcast goes out. So,
right.
Yeah, the 7th of December.
Okay. Well, the lucky person who does win that will get to go to lunch with him in Manchester at a restaurant and a date of a mutual agreement, it says. I often think with these things, it's, like when they did one for the dinner with all the doctors and stuff, I think, God, would it be awkward? Or would it be, when you get very tongue-tied meeting your favourite celebrity or whatever, and I always think, God, would it be, you're going to sort of sit there and your mind goes blank, can't think of anything to say. If there's one person I don't think that would happen with, it's Russell, because he's just like so engaging, and like I just imagine he would, even if you couldn't think of anything to say, he would just be so interesting to go to lunch with and just chat with, and funny, and I bet you just, whoever wins that is just going to have such a fantastic day with him. I mean, I when I met him at the book signing recently, I only met him for a couple of minutes, and he was just so funny, and just exactly how you would imagine him to be when you see him in interviews and stuff. So yeah, it's amazing. It's going to be a great prize to, well, I was going to say win, but to win the bid on whatever it gets up to. So yeah,
it's awesome. And the location, if you do want to enter, you'll have to go up to Manchester, as Adam said, to a place called Australasia, which is a very nice restaurant up there apparently. And it's for 1 hour. So yeah.
Do you imagine they have like a clock ticking next to you? Like counting down your time, like a sand timer,
like a chess game.
Yeah, just one more question, Russell. No.
Yes, they're dragging you out the building. Russell, I forgot to ask you something.
Gonna get a selfie. No, your time's up. He's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be completely useless at these sort of things, because I'd just sit there and say, so, Doctor Who, eh? That's pretty good, wasn't it?
I'd say so. Tell me, what the hell went wrong with Chris Eccleston? Why didn't he want to return? Tell me all about it. What wasn't he happy about?
I jest, of course. He wouldn't be able to shut me up. I'd be like, so what about this? And you know this. And Russell, there was this really cool thing, right? And then what about... And he'd be like, oh, God.
Get me out of here.
He's one of those winners, yeah.
He'd get the pretend phone call, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Russell, there's someone on the phone. Oh, hang on, I won't be a minute.
Yeah.
An hour later.
So if you want to have a search for that, it's on eBay. The auction, and just do a search for lunch with Russell T Davies, and apparently it's lot number 14. And so one lucky person. Hopefully we'll put a selfie on soon.
Yeah.
Last bit of news, sort of roughly the last. The broadcast time slots have been announced for Twice Upon a Time. So the Beeb, they always do this a few weeks out. They'll tell you when it's going out, because I think the Radio Times tells you anyway. So in the UK, obviously it's on BBC One, and it will be at 5:30 p.m. What do you reckon?
Early.
What do you reckon?
Wow. I personally, I like it when Doctor Who goes out about 7 o'clock myself, when I'm nicely stuffed full of turkey and had a few sherries and, all bloated, sat there thinking, right, here we go. 5:30 for me personally is a bit early. I have to be honest. But nowadays, I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? I suppose, because people will watch it whenever they want to watch it. Look at it this way: at least after 5:30, it'll probably be on the iPlayer, so you can watch it whenever you want. In other words, if it had been on at 7, you'd have to wait till at least 7 o'clock to watch it. Having been on earlier, it'll be available earlier. So, I mean, it won't affect us because we won't be in the country. But if I was in the country, I'd be thinking, it's a bit early.
Yeah, true.
But I don't even attempt to watch it on, at the broadcast time anyway now because of the noise from all the family around me and stuff. So I normally watch it later on anyway.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, same for us, really. Normally watch it a bit later.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not sure if this is still a thing, but here in the UK, we tend to have Christmas dinner a bit earlier on Christmas Day. So we generally have Christmas dinner around sort of 2-3 o'clock. It's just sort of a thing in the UK, I think. So that's, in that respect, it would fall quite nicely because you're, slunk into the sofa with a nice full belly and a nice drink of whatever and settle down for a bit of who. But yeah, like you said, I don't think it really matters too much because it'll be on. Yeah, everybody will record it on Sky and Virgin anyway, and then you've got iPlayer. So yes, but they've also got the times for everywhere else. So this is really cool for me because I'll be in America at Christmas, and if you're in America or Canada, it will be on BBC America or Space in Canada at 9 p.m. on Christmas Day, and for our friends down under, it will be on ABC Australia on Boxing Day at 7:30 p.m.
What about China?
It sucks to be you, mate, really.
Oh, no. There's just no showing. Oh, dear.
Don't think so.
No, I'll have to wait till I get back them.
Yeah. And just to finish off, I think you wanted to mention some of these promo pics that have just been launched.
Unleashed, haven't they, today? Got a load of promo pics from the new Christmas special, and they look glorious, actually. They really look nice, but there is one thing that we've all picked up on the minute we saw them, every Doctor Who fan. What's going on with the roundels in presumably the first Doctor's TARDIS? They look like IKEA roundels. They look awful. Now... before I lose my, apparently the actual, because I'm sure most people were like this, were like, where's what? They're not roundels, they look like the thing from the Day of the Doctor, but apparently the proper roundels are in it. This is just another view of the TARDIS, apparently, so I hope that's true. In fact, I know it's true because I remember seeing in the very first trailer, we had proper white roundels behind Gattis's character, so there are roundels in the first Doctor's TARDIS. But yeah, personally, mate, I don't know about you, but they look dreadful to me. I don't know what this wall is. I suppose it's supposed to be a substitute for the flat walls that we used to get in the first Doctor, but they don't fit to me. They don't look right.
Possibly, they do look very cheap and. I mean, well,
very IKEA.
That doesn't make a difference anyway because the actual roundels were very cheap. You know what I mean?
But they look beautiful, and they've got in it. You've only got to look in Adventure in Space and Time to see how gorgeous that set can look, and it's very simple, and they've still got all that set. So,
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's another little thing in the long list of. Basically, all these little things that we've seen in the promo pics and the trailers and so on, you can just sort of wrap it up in a little bow and just put a tag on it that says, Stephen Moffat, if you screw this up
I know.
or you tarnish the First Doctor's vibe in any way, then there's going to be big trouble.
Yeah. But apart from roundels aside, mate, these promo pictures do look great, and I can see the TARDIS clock, and I can see there's some nice shots of Bill actually, Bill looking great and stuff. So the exterior, the outside of the TARDIS as well in the first Doctor's pictures looks really nice.
Really nice, yeah.
So it looks like all the other details look good. I mean, the TARDIS shots do look lovely. Don't get me wrong. It's just that. Yeah, a lot of them have these strange roundels in the background, and it just is a bit like the first thing you see is that, and you think, what the hell? But I think, I'm going to hold judgment because who knows? They might be part of the episode. Could be anything. We don't know, do we? Could be a reason for it. So
that's true.
I'll hold judgment till then. But they're really nice promo pictures. Again, really getting me excited to see the episode. So yeah,
indeedy,
it's all good.
The thing I like about these is we get to see another location. So instead of the snowy landscape, we see them out in a like a muddy kind of field. I don't know, is it a bit of a quarry thing going on there? A good old quarry, looks like, maybe. But we do see them out in some fields and a bit of a, different scene that we've seen so far. So, but you're right, mate. Roundels aside, it does look very nice.
It does. Yep.
So that's news. Actually, before we do merch, we might as well speak about our Christmas breakages and so on, because again, we will forget, and I was going to do that earlier, so we better do it now. So this week is the last week that Adam and I will be putting the podcast out together, because Adam is off on his travels as of, when you're off, mate, the 11th
Next
or
week.
12th or something. So yeah, Adam is off to China to see in Christmas and all that stuff over there, which is really cool. So next week it will be just a solo show with me. It'll be a slightly shorter one. I'll just go through the usual news and merch, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I might do a bit of a year in review to highlight some of our cool moments throughout the year, and a bit of a Q&A possibly. But if you just keep your eyes on social stuff, I'll stick on there what we're going to do next week. And then for 2 weeks after that, so it would normally go out on Friday the 22nd of December and Friday the 29th. There's going to be no podcast for those 2 weeks because Adam will still be away. I'll be in New York, and we're just, it'll be crazy to try and to do anything there. So our next show together will be Friday the 5th of January.
Wow.
Where we'll do our review of Twice Upon a Time.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that. I tell you, I mean, I'm excited about my holiday, but I can't wait to actually get back and watch it and then review it. Oh, it's going to be so good.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah. So just to recap then, this week is our last podcast together. Next week, Friday the 15th, it'll be just me. Following 2 weeks, no podcast, and then we're back on the 5th of January.
Yes. Be like the old days, mate, when you were starting on just by yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a retro big blue box.
Yeah, retro box. None of me interrupting you.
Yeah.
Don't get to like it too much, will you?
Yeah, when you get back. So you ready to record, mate? I've already done it, mate. So
why is he not answering my calls?
So there we go.
Replaced by a robot. That's what I want. Been replaced. Good morning. Just you and that new Google.
Yes, me and my new robot friend.
I love it.
That's update on what's going on with the podcast. Let's land it and do this little piece of merch.
Oh, yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
I said, let's land it there. We're not going to land anything with our Dalek friend. Can't be trusted, can he?
No, he can't. What's he doing while we're away? You're not leaving him in the house on his own, are you?
No, he'll
wreck the place.
No,
he'll be having parties. He'll be getting all his Dalek friends round and mutant friends round. And no,
exactly. I'll come home. There'll be plungers hanging from the ceiling. There'll be all sorts of just metal all over the place. And yeah, no, he's locked outside, mate. He's
What's this he's thrown at us? What's this?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So our very often promoted from us, the Robert Harrop figures. We've released a special edition Zygon figure in solid pewter.
Right.
Solid English pewter, no less. I'm not sure what to say on this one. He looks okay, I suppose, but because it's made of pewter, it's very difficult to bring out the detail in his face and so on. So, he looks okay. I won't be ordering this one, to be honest with you, mate. It's for £110. I mean, I'm sure he's very good quality. He probably weighs quite a lot, and the quality will be very good. And if Zygons are your thing, if you're a fan of the Zygons, if you like those dudes, this could be a cool little gift for somebody for Christmas. But yeah, bit of an odd one. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but a bit odd.
I've got to say, I mean, I love the Robert Harrop stuff a lot, but this isn't doing anything for me at all, actually. I think they've done a couple of these over the years, so maybe it's for people, maybe it's for a select group of people that like to collect these particular limited editions, if you like. I can't remember the other ones they've done, but I know they've done a few pewter versions of the figures. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with it. It looks fine. It's just, I didn't sort of, as soon as it got announced, didn't think, must get one, or it doesn't really do much for me, I'm afraid. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks fine. It's like you said, a bit pricey as well. So £110, but very limited. It's only 100 pieces being made. So yeah, I can imagine if you've got the rest of the figures in pewter, they would look great together. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine a shelf of them all, and especially as they're so limited and a bit. So it's something a bit different, if you know what I mean. So in that sense, I quite like it. But yes, I'm afraid I won't be ordering this one.
Yeah. So that's all really. The solid English pewter Zygon. There he is.
Yes, and I don't know about you, mate. If you are thinking of getting some more of these Harrop figures like me, they're doing this great thing at the minute where if you sign up to their email address called Friends of Harrop, I think you get they've stopped doing it, but they will be doing more. But they give you some good discounts as well. Yes, because I didn't realise this. I signed into my account a couple of weeks ago, and the prices were amazing. I was like, "What's happened?" I honestly thought they'd got a glitch with their website. I was like, "This can't be right." Mm-hmm. There was like a TARDIS on there for like $49.99. It's normally £100. And I was like, "Is this true?" And the Zygon was reduced to £47. I was like, what? And I realized it's just because I'd signed into my account, and because I'd signed up to their email, they were doing like 20% off, which is, amazing for these figures. So, I've had to be a bit restrained. I immediately wanted to order all the ones I haven't got, but didn't. But yeah, they've stopped doing that offer at the minute, but it will come back on, and it's it's well worth keeping an eye out for because it makes a big difference on the prices of these, gorgeous figures.
Yes, and they always do an offer as well. So just head over to robertharrop.com, and at the bottom, just above the footer, there's a big section that says newsletter. Pop your email in there, and yes, like Adam said, they normally do offers quite regularly. So
they're bound to do in the new year, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, yep.
Or even up to Christmas, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's merch as well. Rattling through, mate.
Throw it back in.
Yeah. Review times. Back to classic Who.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of all the hype of the First Doctor at the moment for Twice Upon a Time and all that, I thought we'd do a First Doctor story. So, you're on the edge of your seat, Adam, I can tell.
Yes.
What are we doing this week?
Inside the spaceship. Oh, no, I always call it that. No, it's the Edge of Destruction.
Grandfather! Grandfather! The ship can't crash. It's impossible. Well, there's something here. Inside the ship. But that's not possible. The doors were open. But where would it hide? In one of us. Something terrible's happening to all of us.
There's a strong force at work somewhere which is threatening my ship. You sabotaged my ship.
Oh, don't be so stupid.
I know it. I'm sure of it. You attacked us.
How dare you?
And is it possible, then, that this is the end?
Great trailer, that.
Do you know what? I had to find the most exciting trailer I could find for this episode because clips-wise, it's very, very studio talky based. There isn't really a lot that you can play that will make you think, "Oh wow, that's must go out and see that." So I've tried to find the most action-packed fan-made trailer. I'll put a link in the show notes to the YouTube channel where I got it from. But yes,
I like that.
Yes. So the Edge of Destruction, or Inside the Spaceship, as it's more commonly known as, is on the. If anyone's got the box set called The Beginnings, which is
great box set.
Yep, it's on there. It's a little two-parter from Series 1. It was first out in 1964, just 2 episodes. It was written by David Whittaker, and first episode was directed by Richard Martin, and the second one was directed by Frank Cox. And no supporting cast, just our primary cast members, the Dr. William Hartnell, Susan, Barbara, and Ian. So, Inside Spaceship. What do you reckon to this one, mate?
It's an odd one, isn't it? It's a little oddity that was sort of thrown in there at the last minute. What was the reason for it? Was it because the something wasn't ready? Was the script not finished or something with the following story, or the sets weren't ready, or I don't know. There's some reason for it that they suddenly had to hastily get a little two-parter written by David Whittaker to fill in this gap before they could go on to the next serial. And so, yeah, it's an interesting concept because obviously there's no budget for that given, because they're just like, no, we've got a two episode story to to do, but there's no budget, so it'll have to all be done on sets that we already got, i.e. the TARDIS. So do something with that. And I think it's an interesting idea, and I really like it. The idea that something may have gone to ship, or something, ship, or something may have gone wrong, or you know what I mean. So it's quite interesting. But unfortunately, as much as I enjoy watching it, actually, mainly because of the cast, it's always kind of ruined for me by the resolution, because you get some great ideas thrown in there during the course of the episode. So Susan, I think it is, thinks that something's got in through the doors, like they shouldn't be open, but they are. So something's got in the TARDIS, and they're all acting a bit possessed and a bit weird. And you think, this is really interesting. I like all this. And then there's some strange stuff going on the scanner. But it just turns out to be a spring's got stuck. And I've seen this quite a few times actually over the years. And, I watched it again the other night, and, I know exactly what's coming, but every time we get to that bit, I get slightly annoyed. I just think, oh God, I know it had to be written really quickly, but surely you could have come up with a better thing than a jam spring. It ruins it for me. I'll be honest with you, because I quite like it as a strange little two-parter. I quite like it, but I do think it's one more for the fans, because there's not enough story. You wouldn't say to someone, if you're going to watch a First Doctor story to somebody who's just getting into Who, watch this one, because it's just it's more interesting because you like the characters that you've got to know, like Ian and Barbara and stuff like that. So it's a funny one. I quite like it. It's just slightly ruined for me by the resolution of it, really. But as I said, it was written, I think, within 2 days as a filler story. So that would explain a lot of it, I think.
Yeah. No, Reg, I think it's going to be a short review, this one, because it's really the plot is very simple. It turns out that the Doctor had the Doctor had flicked the fast return switch, but it got stuck. As you said, the spring was broken underneath the switch, and as a result, the TARDIS has gone all the way back to the beginning of time. And as a result of that, it's slowly sort of degrading and is about to explode. So what it does, instead of like a little, they don't have a printer on the TARDIS. It's quite annoying, because it could have just, those old dot matrix printers, like,
yeah.
It could have just said, fast return switch broken, fix. Everything would have been all right. But the TARDIS sort of tells them, that things are wrong via a series of clues and these weird little things. And as you said, it turns out just to be a broken switch. So, you can tell it's filler. David Whittaker, he wrote the script in just 2 days because they wanted it to fit, because they wanted it to be a 13-episode series. They needed a couple of episodes to slot in, because 11-episode series sounds a bit weird. He just knocked this up in a couple of days, had no money, like you said, onto the TARDIS set, and away you go. And it's very weird, because it starts off, I agree with you, mate, it starts off with this very cool concept, like, has something got into the TARDIS? Is there an invisible force that's maybe possessed them or controlling their minds, whatever? Because it does get a little bit creepy, like when Susan, threatens to stab them with a pair of scissors, and and there's a bit where Susan's
that's quite harsh.
Yeah, there's a bit where her hair's all crazy and she's got this really horrible look on her face, and you think, is this some sort of paranormal, exorcist kind of story going on here? But then it just sort of dilutes very quickly, sort of halfway through the second episode, and it's hard to like, but it's also difficult to sort of tear it apart too much because of the basis on which it was written. If this was a 4-parter that was written as a normal story and it had a supporting cast and everything, you'd think, wow, this is dreadful. It's all come down to the switch, but because it's a weird little 2-parter, it's weird. It's definitely a weird one.
And it's funny, it's weird, because when you know the resolution, so, after you've watched it once and you kind of know what's coming, certain things don't really make sense, do they? Like, why are they all acting possessed and things like that? And I don't know, certain bits don't really hold up. And as I said, if David Whittaker had longer to flesh it out and think about it and write it. I'm sure he could have improved on it, because there is some great ideas in there. And one of the things I love is this is very early on in Doctor Who's history. So what is this, the third story? In terms of like, we've had an Earthly Child, the Dalek story, and then this. So it's very early days. The Doctor and Susan are still getting to know Barbara and Ian, or vice versa. So it's good because they really play on that. Like the Doctor's actually really sinister in this in some parts, which I loved, because, if you put yourself back, to 1964 when this show's just started and you're thinking, who is this Doctor guy? And, we're getting to know him as a viewer. So when he's like drugging them and putting them to sleep, and at one point he's going to throw them off the ship, and he's really losing it. It makes for really interesting viewing. I mean, those are some of the things I really enjoy when I watch this. It's just, those twists and turns of them not trusting each other, and the lengths that the Doctor will go to. And it, really does show his alien side. I was thinking this while watching it, when I say that Hartnell was very underrated as a Doctor, this is a good example, because it really shows the alien side of the Doctor. I think this story is in particular, because he's got a compassionate side to him, but he's also practical, and his whole decision for throwing them off the ship is based on him piecing together what he thinks are the right answers and finding a solution, which is they've got to get off the ship. And I knew this would happen, and I've known it all along, and all this sort of thing, and then realizing he's wrong and all that sort of stuff. So that, for me, makes it a very interesting watch. And as I said, I just wish that they'd have had more time to flesh it out, tweak a few bits, and find a better resolution, because I think it would have been a very interesting two-part. Well, it is a very interesting two-parter, but it could have been a really good two-parter, whereas it just falls down at a few hurdles, I think.
Yeah. There are some things, I mean, I agree with you. Hartnell is very good in it. Considering this is the third story, Hartnell is very much, he's, like you said, he is very much showing that alien side, and the threat is almost very real, the possibility that he's going to, throw them out the TARDIS and all that stuff, because that threatening nature that he has sometimes, and he is a bit sort of not sort of crazy scientist, but he is very sort of unnerving,
quite sinister. Unnerving, yeah,
which I love. And that's one thing, like you said, is really good about Hartnell. He does make that very clear that the Doctor is not human. He is an alien after all, and whereas Ian and Barbara, they're very human, obviously, and at first they're sort of unwilling to believe that anything's wrong, but then sort of things do fall apart a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you again. It would have been I think this would have been a great story if there was a foe, a monster, or be it physical or whatever, if there was some kind of thing that you could pin it on, so all these, the little clues that are sprung up, and the way that they act possessed at times and stuff like that. If you could pin that on something like, it's a, look at that mysterious looking cloud over there that's sort of, got into their mind, sort of thing. But because there's nothing happening and you can't really put your finger on what really is going on, because even the clues that I use very loosely that the TARDIS is giving them is very weird. There's like a clock that does nothing. It just stops, but they will look at it like it's some crazy...
It's really unclear. It's supposed to have melted. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not shown very clearly, is it, on screen? Because I didn't know why they're all. They look at. It's quite funny, really, isn't it? That scene, unintentionally, they look at the clock. They all go and start fainting, and and I'm like, what? What's wrong with the clock? It's because it's supposed to have melted, but it's not very clear.
Not really.
No.
So and the other clue. I mean, the other thing. I don't really know what the other clues are there? There's that, and then there's the fact that the scanner's showing just photographs of
previous
locations,
journeys and stuff. Yeah.
And then there's also the I can't even remember now. Anyway, the clues, like I said, are very loose. I mean, Barbara's an absolute Sherlock Holmes for piecing all them together and then coming up with whatever's going on. But yeah, I mean, it's
The scene with Susan and the scissors is genuinely unsettling, isn't it? I mean, I don't know quite what the reason is for some of the behaviour in this, because I quite like the fact we get a clear distinction between the Doctor and Susan and William, Ian and Barbara, because we see the sort of alien and human sides to both in this, don't we? But the scene where she gets the scissors is quite, for the time, quite shocking, I think, and even more so when Barbara goes back in the room. And you know that she's still got them, and you're like, "What's she going to do?" Because she's quite good at being unsettling. I think Susan, when she's in Caroline Ford, when she's playing it like that, because in the end, Barbara's just like, "Susan, give me those scissors," and you're like, "Oh my god, this is quite because they're such a horrible big old pair of 60s scissors, aren't they?" And I know that I think this was the first time, wasn't it, that Doctor Who, or one of the first times, got in trouble. Big time from the big chiefs at BBC.
That's correct.
They weren't happy about this at all, because they considered it very much a children's program at this point. And they, if you watch the little documentary on the DVD with Verity Lambert, she talks about it, doesn't she? Saying that she thinks she got it wrong and she should have altered that scene because it is too much. She doesn't. It's funny because Susan, she grabs scissors and she does like a frenzied attack on a chair in front of Ian, and then later on she's kind of gotten concealed and possibly is going to stab Barbara. So it's quite sinister, but the way it's done is quite raw, I think, on screen, which makes it even more horrific for the time, as I say. For the time. But again, it adds, watching as a viewer in this day and age, to me, I found it quite intense. It brings quite a lot of atmosphere to the episode, because one of the weird things with it, because the TARDIS has just stopped, there's no sound effects or anything, so there's almost this unsettling silence, which makes it almost feel like a stage play, doesn't it? Like they're all reading their lines, but there's absolutely no atmosphere in terms of sound effects or added in stuff like that. So we do get some bits of stop music or music or whatever, which creates some nice moments, but for the majority it's just like a hiss of the studio floor, isn't it, which is again quite unsettling. It's all sort of done with mood lighting and stuff like that, isn't it, really, to create this weird atmosphere.
It's funny you should mention that. That's what one of the main things that I've got in my note, like the first thing that I've wrote in capitals, is it feels like a play rather than a TV. It's almost like somebody's turned up at the theatre with a camera.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Rather than, a TV studio. Because it does there's nothing going on. It's just, the TARDIS set and they're wandering around and from, room to room, and it's mainly dialogue. It's definitely a character building piece for sure. It's definitely that, that exploration from the Doctor and Susan's side. Like you said, them getting to know Ian and Barbara and vice versa as well. And we get to know a little bit more about the Doctor and what sort of the way he thinks, when there's a crisis and, because everyone gets a bit flappy, they don't know what's going on, they get a bit nervous and so it definitely feels like a play. It would make a good play. If you went to the theatre and saw this, it'd be very good. It just doesn't feel like a TV show at all.
No, actually, it's interesting you called it a character piece there, because that's it is, isn't it? And I think that's one of the reasons I like it, even though it's got quite a few issues with the script and stuff, is that it does feel totally different. It feels like a real little odd little two-parter, and it does feel like a character piece. Like we get to see all these different sides of our TARDIS team, and I really like that. I think it's one of the reasons I like it, despite all its faults, if you like. It's just a strange little watch, but so interesting at the same time.
It is. It's an oddball, like we said, isn't it? It's very unique, this one.
It is unique. Did you feel like, because you said earlier that it's directed, so episode 1's directed by Richard Martin and episode 2 Frank Cox. Did you notice or feel any difference in the direction?
Yes, I did.
Which did you think was better?
The second one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know why. It seems to. I think it's just more a case of the time between conversations and dialogue is a little bit less in episode 2. It seems to move forward a little bit more, as you would expect, whereas the first episode is really, it's got these long, drawn-out shots of stuff. So when somebody's finished speaking, the camera will because we have those really early Hartnell things where the cameraman's sort of moving the camera a little bit while they're talking. It's a bit, not amateur, but it's a little bit, the cameraman obviously didn't really put 100% love into it. They're just like, whatever.
I found episode 1 very stilted, I have to say, in terms of the direction. Like you said, it felt even more like watching a play, episode 1. I mean, episode 2 just picks up a little bit more in pace as well, I think.
It does, yeah. But in the first episode, when somebody's finished talking, the camera will then sort of slowly pan a little bit to something, and it will sort of stay on it for a few seconds, and nothing will happen. There'll just be that pause where nothing's going on at all. No one's talking. Nothing's happening, and then somebody will come in and Ian will come in and say something, and then it will happen again. He'll stop talking, and then the camera will change for sort of 5-6 seconds with nothing, and then whereas episode 2 doesn't have that as much, well, hardly at all, in fact.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, no, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so it definitely picks up a bit, but then it's just that ending. That's what lets down episode 2, because it picks up a little bit, and then out of nowhere, Barbara's like, "Oh yeah, I've just figured it out. It's this," and then we have the infamous fast return switch, which has got a bit of a Sharpie label. Someone's wrote in a marker,
That's weird, isn't it? Because I mean, it's clearly we would assume there, so William Hartnell knows which switch, to use.
Yes,
but it's as if they forgot to wipe it off. I think they say in the making, or don't they just probably assume that wouldn't be shown on screen or whatever. So it's a bit of it's a strange.
Yeah, Carol Ann Ford did say that in some blocks of recording they would write labels on the TARDIS so they know which switch, for consistency, what switches did what. And she just assumed that prior to the cameras rolling that they would be, sorted out. The production designer or the producer or whoever's in charge of that stuff, the floor manager, whatever, would have done a walkthrough and said, "Oh, we can't have the labels." But this is early Doctor Who. That stuff didn't happen. It's
strange, isn't it? I mean, I quite like the fact it's there, but every time I see it, it's so glaringly obvious. It's like, that's supposed to be written there in great big bold black letters. Yeah,
it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's just that ending. It's just the whole, there's a spring that's stuck. Can you see here, child? Look. And then he fixes it, and then everything's cool, dandy. The one thing I do like, though, because we get that sort of naff ending, but we do have this really nice moment between the Doctor and Barbara at the end where she's obviously very cut up still that, he's insulted her and Ian quite a lot, and he's threatened to throw them off, and so she's taken it quite badly. But that's that lovely little moment at the end where he makes her smile and they go out for a little walk, and it's really
I was going to say that brought my score up, because when we got to the resolution, I was thinking about what I might score this. I was sort of, I won't give it away now, but I was thinking, this is and then we get that lovely scene with the Doctor and Barbara, just afterwards. And it is such a nice scene, and they are both so good in it that it does bring the score up, because it does bring the story round. It gives it another element rather than just being, well, that's that all done, then let's move on to the next adventure. It shows that we're dealing with nice, rounded characters. The Doctor realises that he's, been too harsh, and he owes her an apology, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I like the fact that that the Doctor, because the Doctor's sort of famous for not really enjoying apologising to people. It's one of his sort of character traits across many of the Doctor's incarnations. But I don't know, this does seem like a genuine moment where the Doctor just comes in by himself, because in another world it could have been a case of, because Ian does have a bit of a pop at him and said, you should apologise to her. And he seems quite obstinate, he's not going to do that. But then with nobody around, he sort of goes in and they have that little moment. It's quite nice.
Yeah, and it's good because we need moments like that, because, otherwise you'd be thinking to yourself, well, why do Ian and Barbara travel with him when he's like this? And then it just shows that, the Doctor might be alien, he might be a bit harsh and crockery and all that, but he has got this warm side to him as well. which Barbara can see. He's not all bad. He's, he has got a good side to him, and it's an important scene, I think, especially so early on in the series. When these characters are getting to know each other. So I love that bit at the end. I just think it's beautifully acted by both of them. It's such a nice, tender little moment at the end of this really bizarre story. No,
it's nice, really nice. And then it kind of resets the whole thing, doesn't it? Like, we've had Capaldi say it before, like the old gang's back together. It's that has that feeling about it where it's all forgotten. We've all got. It's a bit like a hangover. We've all got thick heads a little bit. We all had a drink, but it's all good now. Everything's fine. And then we're off, and then we look forward to the next adventure, which unfortunately we can't see. So the next one for us would be the Keys of Marinus, and that's an interesting 6-part of that one.
Was it? I thought it was Marco Polo next.
Yeah, but they're all lost, aren't they?
Oh, I see. I mean, the next one we can see is... That's what I mean. Yeah. So I'm with you. Sorry, yeah.
I mean, it would be great to go into Marco Polo, but so it's a very nice little isolated, unique story that's well acted for the most part, a bit creepy, a bit sinister, a little bit naff in certain places, a little bit rough around the edges, but like I said, you can't really bash it too much because the circumstances under which it came about, you can absolutely understand. Someone said to Russ, even someone like the very able and, amazing showrunners like RTD and Moffat, even if you went to them and said, knock me up in story in 2 days, they'd turn white as a ghost. I can't do that. I can't. 2 days? You must be joking.
Yeah, so, 2 days, you got no budget and you can only use the primary cast. Go. It's right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So the circumstances which came about, you have to have a little bit of understanding and a bit more of a leeway about the critique, but it's definitely I wouldn't say it's an enjoyable watch. I think that's the wrong word. It's definitely an interesting watch and I wouldn't say that I watch it and I thought, because when I've seen it twice now, and each time I've watched it, I don't sit there thinking, wow, I'm loving this. I'm really enjoying Doctor Who. But on the same hand, I'm not thinking, well, this is, I'm going to turn this off in a minute. It's not that, it's not like that either. It's kind of I'm definitely a sort of on the fence person about it. That's for sure.
It's an intriguing watch. I mean, when I'm watching it, I know there are moments that I'm waiting for. I think it's one of those over the 2 parts. I'm thinking the bit with the scissors is coming up in a minute, or the bit where they go mad over the melted clocks coming up. I always find that funny because it's just so ridiculous. And then, of course, I always wait for the scene at the end because I just love it. Hartnell apologising to Barbara, and I love that end bit. So there's moments in it that I'm just waiting for. But the bits in between, I'm just thinking, well, this is mad. This is bonkers. And then there is another shot as well I love of Carol Ann Ford with her crazy hair, and this music kicks in. You must know the bit I mean. She just appears at a door, and it's like dun dun. She just looks like she's about to really like she's going to murder the whole crew or something. It's bizarre. So there's loads of little moments in it that I love. But yeah, boy, it's a strange one. It wouldn't be the one that you put on to introduce people to William Hartnell's Doctor, would it?
Oh,
no. It's a very much for a fan one. But as I said, in terms of the actual flow of the series, it's I think it's quite a good one to have as the third story, just in terms of bringing the cast together and them getting to know each other, all trapped in the TARDIS. In terms of that, it's quite interesting, I think. And I'm going to take my hat off to Hartnell because although he fluffs a lot of lines in this, especially when he's arguing Barbara, he does get this really long speech at the end, which I think he delivers brilliantly, and he doesn't fluff it at all.
Yes,
it's the bit where he sort of turns around and he's got his back to the console, and he delivers this beautiful speech, and he delivers it brilliantly. So I know there are a few fluffs in this from Hartnell. There is one bit where he really does it bad, but the moments like that, I think he absolutely shines, and he's great at being, like I said, this sort of quite. You just never quite know with him. You just never quite know Hartnell's Doctor, and I love that. He's unpredictable. He could be your best friend one minute, bringing you, a slice of cake from the TARDIS food machine, and then the next minute he could be saying, "You're a traitor. he's going to throw you off the ship. You just never know. Yes. And I love that about Hartnell's Doctor.
Yes. Now I was going to mention that I counted 6 line fluffs in just this little 2-parter.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
But that speech at the end, where it's a couple of minutes worth of him just on his own, not one mistake. The whole
I know.
Perfect. Yeah,
it is perfect. Yeah, and when he saw that, I think he must have been like, "Blimey, how am I going to do that?" You know, I'm surprised he didn't give it to Ian or someone to William Russell to read, because they did used to share lines and stuff, didn't they? But
or just hold it up on a big card out of shot.
Yeah. No, he does it brilliantly. I love that end little speech as well. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, no, Hartnell's definitely very good in it. I will say that. You know, classic good Hartnell.
Yes. I thought Caroline Ford was okay in it as well, because for me the standout person is Hartnell, and I think Jacqueline Hill was Barbara. They both stand out as really strong. Mm-hmm. William Russell's good, but unfortunately he spends a lot of time on the floor or being dazed, and Caroline Ford I actually think does a really good job of being quite odd. You know, her performance is odd, but I mean it in a good way. I think she's quite unnerving in her scenes, and she looks possessed.
She's creepy.
You know, so I think she's quite good in it as well. So, you know, again, this brings the score up a little bit for me in terms of the cast. I think do a great job with what they're given overall. Yeah.
No, I agree. Yes. Okay. I really haven't got much more to say on it, to be honest with you.
I haven't either, really. No.
It is a strange little 2-parter. It's definitely, as Adam said, if you're introducing friends to Hartnell, probably don't stick this one on, but maybe put that in your back pocket if you want to throw a curveball on a Saturday night over cocktails. See how that goes down. But yeah, let's get on scores. Right.
Okay.
Whose turn is it to go first? I think it's you.
I think it's me, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to give it. Actually, I wish you were going first because I'm struggling a little bit. I'm hovering around. I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10. I'm hovering around a sort of 6, but 6.5. I'm going to put 0.5 on for the scene at the end, which I think is beautiful between the Doctor and Barbara. So 6.5 for me.
Okay, I'm going with a 5.5.
Okay, yeah, I thought you might.
Yeah, because I'm on the fence with it. You know, but there's also that little 0.5 is for the sort of interesting nature of it and the uniqueness, and also for the Doctor and Barbara. I think they, like you said, they're really good together in it.
And if anyone's listening to this that hasn't seen it, don't be put off by it. As I said, it's not one to go in if you haven't seen much Classic Who. But if you've seen quite a bit of Classic Who and you've seen a bit of Hartnell, but you haven't seen this, definitely give it a watch, because it really has got some good stuff in there, and it is, you know, it is interesting in a good way. It's, you know, it's not like when we say, oh, interesting because something's bad. It is genuinely an interesting little odd 2-parter. So it's definitely worth a watch, isn't it? But
absolutely,
you know, don't be put off by it, but just be prepared. It's an odd one.
Okie dokie. What did our beautiful listeners think? Let's kick off with some audio clips. First one is Loopy Loo.
A wonderful piece of theatre, and I mean that in the truest complimentary sense, for they weren't theatrical at all, they were brilliant. If you view this as a theatre piece rather than a TV episode, it's genius, except for the lazy switch explanation at the end, which doesn't explain why they were all acting oddly. Such a letdown at the end. I give this 6.5 out of 10.
6.5.
Oh, agreeing with me there, Lou. Great minds. Great minds.
Let's continue with George Puddy.
Hello, Garen Adams. So, The Edge of Destruction. I'm kind of split on this, because while I love The Brink of Disaster, I'm undecided on The Edge of Destruction. The Edge of Destruction is boring, in my opinion. I feel like it's kind of a classic version of the 10th Doctor story Midnight, but not done as good, with fewer characters and just set in the TARDIS. They don't explore the TARDIS. You know, The Brink of Disaster is another story. I love the friction in the TARDIS between the characters. The acting is outstanding from every single one of the original TARDIS team, especially Hartnell. And even though the way it is resolved is a bit of a cop-out, I just love the Doctor's relationship with all of the characters. I think it's a really nice character piece on this whole TARDIS team and the relationship. I love the end as well, how you see the Doctor has actually formed a really nice relationship with Barbara and Ian and made up for what they did. So while I don't really like the edge of destruction, I do love the brink of disaster. I'm gonna give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. See you guys next week.
Cool.
Another 6.5. Well, that makes me feel better then, because I thought I'd gone too high on it. That's good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's crack on with Owen Daly.
Hey guys, hope you're both well and enjoying the show this week. So, Edge of Destruction, this two-part story from the early days of Doctor Who. I've got to say I'm split 50-50 on this one. The first half, part one, I'm not a huge fan of. I think the characters act a little bit too weird, especially Susan, and it just feels a bit out of place. And I don't feel like enough is going on to keep my attention, and it is a real slog. However, part two I think is very interesting and I can enjoy a lot as it adds a bit more to the story, and I feel like maybe the story, should things have gone to plan, be one part, but I understand the circumstances of why it was made, so it was more of a filler episode, and I guess it did its job of being a filler episode. The solution was a bit simple with the whole spring, but I guess it was a satisfying enough conclusion. So overall, I'm very split on this episode, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Cheers, Owen.
5.
5.
Cheers, mate. Sammy Satine from Down Under.
G'day, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, The Edge of Destruction. What a nice short little story. The TARDIS goes a bit haywire all because of the little spring in one switch. Great idea to set the whole story on the TARDIS. Loved how the Doctor apologised to Barbara. I also loved the genuine affection between him and Susan. Everyone always says the first Doctor is so grumpy. I think he's sweet. Yes, he's quick to place blame elsewhere, but the other incarnations have done that too. He's cheeky and sneaky and sweet. 10 out of 10 for being sweet. See ya.
Thank you very much, Sammy.
10 out of 10.
Good stuff. And lastly, this is Lewis Palmer.
Hello to the Bigby Box podcast. The Edge of Destruction. I really like this. I really like this a lot. It's a very important story in Doctor Who, actually, because it's the first time the Doctor really mellows, gets to know his companions better. It's really a character-driven story. It's definitely there to develop the characters a bit more. And it's really, the first time that the Doctor begins to like his companions. And we have a really nice scene at the end there with Barbara, who's understandably very annoyed. Understandably so, because the Doctor really treats him like garbage in this story. But he apologises, and they walk out together, arm in arm, and it's a really sweet scene. It's really nicely performed by Hartnell and Jacqueline Hill, and it's really sweet and really nice, and there's a lot of points of that over this story. It's very fun. I return to it often. It's a cool concept, and Hartnell's having a blast. So 8 out of 10, I think. See you next time, guys.
An 8. I thought Lewis would like this one. I had a feeling he would. Yeah,
indeed. I forgot to do the Twitter poll. I'm very sorry.
Oh yes.
So I'm going to go to Facebook though. Had a few on there. So Ryan McGiven. So he finds the story good until you realise all this weird psychological horror all comes from a loose spring. Couldn't the TARDIS just show a sign on the scanner saying faulty button, please repair?
Would have been easier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jamie Ackley said, what an odd one. It would be far more watchable if Caroline Ford had been given some direction to tone down the performance. Gives it a 4 out of 10. Miles McKenzie says a bit of a weird one, 5.5. Jonathan Taylor says it's all right considering the circumstances. Just seems to be a lot of faffing around and a silly resolution. Gives it a 5. Joseph Howarth says, what the hell did I just watch? It's quite a long review from Joseph, but he just gives it a 4 out of 10 at the end.
Oh dear.
Jeff Waddle says it's not bad considering it's a last minute fill-in. There's a good story in there, but let down by the resolution of the stuck spring. And never speak of the stenciled words on the console again. Gave it a 6. And lastly, Lee Craddock says episode is the best of the first series. He loves the relationships. It kind of reminds me of 12 and Clara. Jacqueline Hill is the star of this one, and the strongest stories for her. William Russell is funny. Fourth favourite overall and first favourite of the classic series. Wow.
Blimey. Do you know, it still feels like someone sticks a pin in a voodoo doll every time someone mentions Clara. I don't know why, I always get like this twang every time, even now.
Did you have anything on the Geek's Handbook? Geek's Handbook.
The Geek's Handbook.
Crikey. The Geek's Handbag.
That's the one. I did get a couple, yeah. So Alex, will forgive me, I can't say his name. No, I'm gonna try. Alex Kafatazuglu. That's the one. He says, first time I ever saw this was when it was on the satellite station BSB. I remember that. They showed it as part of the 35th celebration weekend. They showed the 2 episodes the wrong way round, he says, and I didn't even notice. Didn't make much more sense. So he gives it a 6 out of 10. Interesting. But imagine watching it the wrong way round. Anyway, yeah, 6 out of 10 from Alex. Bradley Willard. Despite the budget limitations, I've always found this 2-parter to be quite an enjoyable story, allowing the main cast to really flex their muscles and show how good they are as actors. Bradley gives it a 7 out of 10. Charlie Turner. Oh, now we know Charlie can be controversial. What's he saying this week? A fun 2-parter, he says. I like it, although it's by all means, as Eccleston would say, fantastic. Can't think of anything else to say about it, really. It's a 8 out of 10. So Charlie likes it, yeah. Jason Howell says, oh no, that epic Dalek story cost us too much. What can we do? A cheap story. Tense, dramatic TARDIS base. Not the best story, but not the worst. Zach Jenkins, often overlooked, but a great 2-parter. I feel that this is when the characters start to come into their own, he says. He gives it a 7 out of 10. Dean Jones, a real oddity of the series early days, but the performances were very good across the board, and it's quite unique, especially for the time. The biggest problem is the resolution to the story just by fixing a switch, which felt like a cop-out and slightly undermines everything that happens with the story and the characters. But he says it's a decent watch and gives it a 7 out of 10. Kevin Mullen, quite good, self-contained 2-parter, tight script with lots of nice characters that allow the cast to develop, somewhat forgotten because of the success of the Daleks, and The Edge of Destruction gets a well-deserved 9.5 out of 10 from Kevin. And finally, Aaron Ball says, I love this story. Set after the Daleks, something is up with the TARDIS, and what can I say? The atmosphere is very creepy, and it's quite strange seeing these characters act the way they do. A great little 2-parter and very underrated, says Aaron. He gives it 8.5 out of 10.
Cool.
So quite a lot of positivity, yeah.
So I think there's some decent scores in there for this one. I assumed most of them would be middle of the road to lowish.
Yeah, I did as well, yeah.
But there you go. Can't underestimate Who fans.
No, I quite like that people enjoy it, though. Yeah.
No, it's good. Yes. I mean, it's good that people enjoy it. I mean,
yeah.
Yes. Some very decent scores there. 5.5 from me, 6.5 from old ads. Nothing to talk about next week. As I said earlier, there is no review next week. It's just going to be a slightly shorter show from yours truly. So the next story that we'll ask for your thoughts on won't be till the first week of January, and it will be for Twice Upon a Time. That will be the Crimbo Special.
I'm so looking forward to hearing what people think of it. Like, I can't wait to see if the reaction. See whether it's good or bad. Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. Right, I think we're going to do there for 168.
Okie dokie.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening to 168. It's been awesome going through all of the news and the merch and our rundown of the Sharda event. That was so cool.
Oh, it was excellent. So good.
Yes. Congratulations, our competition winner, Jake Bamford Elsden. We're going to get in contact with you shortly and arrange the delivery of your stuff. So that's all good. Well done. Thank you very much, everybody that's entered. Overwhelming, really. So many entries. It's very, very cool. And also, thank you for sending in your thoughts and reviews for Edge of Destruction.
Yeah.
It's an interesting little one to speak and talk through. And as I said, nothing coming up in the next few weeks for reviews, so you can have a break. You don't have to record stuff and worry about watching and getting stuff in. But do keep your eye out on social media, because we will be doing I think I might do a bit of a Q&A next week.
Yeah.
And some other little bits, but it'll be definitely a much shorter show. So that'll be cool. So, yeah. Anything you want to say, Adam, before your last show of the year?
Yes, there is. I want to wish everyone, I know it's a bit early, but because this is his last time before Christmas, just Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a fantastic time. Enjoy Twice Upon a Time. And, I look forward to speaking to you all in the new year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. Yeah, so we wish Adam happy travels, safe travels. Have a cool time wherever you are, mate. Eating noodles or steamed dumplings or any of that cool stuff. Anyways, in the meantime, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. All the previous shows on there, plus you can link off to the social stuff. And also on iTunes, now on Spotify, all the podcast networks.
Yeah, Spotify.
Give us a sub on there. And if you could give us a review and a rating, that would be awesome. And also check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, there'll be a Christmas video out today.
Awesome.
If you're listening to this on day of release, yes, which I'm very pleased with, actually. So go and have a look at that.
Good. Check out Adam's channel, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Give him a subscribe and a follow. And all that malarkey.
Mm-hmm.
Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...
Let's do it.